We're talking love languages, right? And this is week 2 of 5, and we want to cover just really super briefly the foundational principles, just in case you happen to miss last week of this whole series we're doing on the love languages. Number 1, we all have a primary emotional love language, something, a way that we just receive, hey, this person loves me. We'll identify with all 5 of these, but 1 or 2 of them will kind of climb to the top as far as what we really identify with. There's words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. There is a test on the 5 Love Languages website. You can take it, and it'll give you an idea what maybe you will respond to the most. You might already just know that intuitively. So anyway, that's that. Number 2, we all have love tanks, and that's what gauges how loved we feel. It just kind of just stores up all the love we're receiving from people. Number 3, a full tank leads to a healthy relationship. And the goal of this series is for you to identify your love language, and if you're married or have a significant other, that person's love language, and to encourage you and challenge you to keep that tank full. Because if you have a full tank, you'll have a happy marriage, and then you don't come to me saying, hey, I'm having problems. Not that you can't. I'm just saying we want to prevent the problems. All right? So that's the goal of this series. Today's topic is the giving and receiving of gifts. Everybody likes to get a gift. Who got this as their love language? Some of you, it just seems to be a lesser number of people. There's always a few. And so here's the deal. Sometimes if you don't have this love language, you don't really fully understand, and maybe you dismiss it. Don't do that. This is an equally important love language that you have to tune into and make sure you're filling this tank. All right? So some of you do feel most loved when you receive a gift of some kind. If you happen to have someone in your life who has this as their love language, I did some research for you because I also know you're probably lazy and haven't been thinking about this. Is that disrespectful? I didn't mean it that. Well, be honest, right? Oh, no. So I did some research. Here are 3 quick gifts that you can get to your loved one that will really make them feel loved. And I would really encourage you to go after these. Number 1 is the infrared clam sauna. Who wouldn't want to receive this, especially if your love language is receiving and giving gifts? You would get this, and you would have just every one of those little infrared lights shining down, and you would just feel like love, So think about this. Christmas is coming. Maybe you have an anniversary, a special day coming up. Only $14,000. Put that in the budget and get that thing done. If that doesn't work for you, if maybe our more athletic group here would go for the 24-karat gold shoelaces. They're only making 10 of these, so you got to act fast. All right. Get this for the person who has that love language of receiving gifts. They're very unique, and they will scream, I love you, because they're worth all the money, right? So $19,000, for the gold ones if you're cheap. Go for the silver ones for $3,000, but if you really love someone, you go for the good ones, right? Go for that. Now, if that doesn't work, here's actually my favorite one, and it's the Bat golf cart. That's just cool. Yeah. So here's the deal. Even if you're like a really bad golfer, no one will know because they're looking at your golf cart. So it is a beautiful gift to someone who knows that loves the golf. Get them that. It goes 38 miles per hour. Only costs $28,500, and you'll probably be the only one on the golf course with that. So there's just some unique gifts for you that have some elaborate gifts involved. Believe it or not, there's some elaborate gifts in Scripture too. So we'll look at some of them because that's really more important than some of these fun things. But I think of the Queen of Sheba who brought gifts to Solomon. She brought some interesting gifts. Matter of fact, lots of people brought Solomon interesting gifts. But 1 Kings 10 talks about a time the Queen of Sheba came to visit Solomon. Verse 1, when the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relation to the name of the Lord, she came to test him with hard questions. She's like, is he really as smart as people say? Is this really a God thing? Who is this God? She's from a foreign nation and is not necessarily all that familiar with Jehovah God. So she's coming to test him with hard questions. Arriving at Jerusalem with a very great caravan with camels carrying spices, large quantities of of gold and precious stones. Now, that's a little bit elaborate. I don't know how many of you put spices on your Christmas list, but this isn't like a bottle of Tones. I was reading this week, one camel could hold up like 700 pounds of whatever it's carrying. So and it doesn't tell us how many camels. So I don't know, think about several camels with several hundred pounds worth of spices. This is a pretty significant gift, because what's a little bottle, about $29, of a dependent, I mean, it's like, those things are, I look at that stuff, I think, man, I'll do salt and pepper, thank you. No, I buy them. But they're just, it's kind of painful. She has that. There's also large quantities of gold and precious stones. So this is a very valuable gift that the Queen of Sheba is bringing to Solomon. There's also an example in the New Testament about a woman who brought Jesus a gift. It's really like a year's wages worth of perfume that she pours on his head in Matthew chapter 26. It says, now when Jesus was at Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, a woman came up to him with an alabaster flask of very expensive ointment. She poured it on his head as he reclined at the table. When the disciples saw it, they were indignant, saying, why this waste? This could have been sold for a large sum and given to the poor. But Jesus, aware of this, said to them, why do you trouble the woman? She has done a beautiful thing to me. Look at the beautiful gift. It was like a year's wages worth of perfume that she poured on his head. And if you're picturing it correct, they wouldn't be sitting at a table like we do today. They'd be like reclining on the ground. It was a flat and probably on an elbow, and she probably came and bent down and poured it on top of him. A year's worth of wages that she poured on his head. I think I can safely say I have never got someone a gift that was worth a year's worth of wages. I mean, that is a monster gift that she gave to Jesus. So why would someone give that kind of gift? Why would someone, I mean, there's some scriptural issues we'll get into of spiritual things that Jesus is going to the cross and that type of thing. But why would someone give that amazing of a gift to Jesus or to Solomon or to anyone, really? Why would you buy someone a clam sauna? I mean, right? Or gold shoelaces. Well, because gifts say, I respect and honor you as a person. That's what they were doing. That's what the Queen of Sheba was doing. She was saying, hey, Solomon, I honor you. I honor your position. I'm going to get to know you better. I'm honoring who you are. I've heard great things. Let me bring these gifts. That's what this woman was doing to Jesus. You have changed my life. I cannot believe the difference you have made in my life. Thank you. I'm bringing honor to you. Back to Solomon, 1 Kings 10 says, King Solomon's greater in riches and wisdom than all the other kings of the earth. The whole world sought audience with Solomon to hear the wisdom God put in his heart. They just want to hear what he has to say. I got to meet Solomon. He is so wise, right? Year after year, verse 25, everyone who came brought a gift. Articles of silver, gold, robes, weapons, spices, horses, mules. There's another verse that they brought in baboons. I mean, there was just all kinds of gifts that was brought to Solomon. Solomon accumulated chariots and horses. He had 1,400 chariots, 12,000 horses, which he kept in the chariot cities. He also, with him in Jerusalem, the king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and cedar as plentiful as sycamore trees in the foothills. He had so much stuff given to him as gifts because they honored him so much. He had to start making up things to do with it. I have so much gold. What do I do? I don't know. Let's just overlay some of the shields of the soldiers. That'll be kind of cool. Seems kind of awkward and heavy, but I mean, I'm sure they had it real thin, but that'd be pretty intimidating too. It's like, so he's overlaying shields for the soldiers. He's making his dinnerware out of gold and his silverware. It's everywhere. Everywhere you look in his temple, in his home, there's gold, there's silver, there's precious gems, there's wealth amassed everywhere. He even created cities to hold chariots. I mean, that's because of all the gifts that people kept bringing to him, because they respected him, because they honored him. It was a way to lift him up, saying, you're special, and we value you. I've done a lot of weddings over the years, and they're all a little unique. They're a little different. They have different elements. And the longer I've done it, the more unique they become. And it's kind of fun, actually, in the modern day. There's just all lots of little twists and turns that are a little bit different in every wedding. But one thing that every single wedding I've done has included is a gift, right? There's always a gift between the groom and the bride standing there in front of God and everyone, and it's a ring. It's a little ring. And the purpose of that ring, it's a symbol of saying, I honor you above all people on the planet. I choose you. Right? I want to be with you. I want to spend the rest of my days with you. Now, some of the rings I have looked at over the years and I've touched and held in my hands have been worth thousands and thousands of dollars. Some have been like, silicone bands. The price is not the point. The value monetarily is not the point. The gift and what it symbolizes, that is the point in the ring exchange. Every gift, if you have this as your love language, every gift that you receive puts fuel in your tank. Every day that goes by, every week that goes by, every month that goes by, where you don't receive a gift, your tank lowers a little bit. So you don't necessarily have to give them a gift every single day. They're not greedy people if they have this as a love language, but you have to be aware that every once in a while you've got to put some more fuel in the tank. It doesn't have to be expensive, or you don't have to be elaborate or anything. You don't have to bring in a shipload of goats or mules or camels with spices on it. But it's something regularly, an expression of love, so that the love tank stays full. Now, if receiving gifts is not your love language, you probably don't quite understand that. I don't fully understand. This isn't my love language. I mean, I like gift as much as anybody else, but it's not really my love language. And the temptation is for people to maybe think, oh, that's just silly, or that's just being materialistic, or to kind of downplay. Be careful you don't downplay this. It's okay if you don't understand it. Just like the other love languages, you just have to fill it. Make sure that their tank is full. Make sure you understand what their love language is and fill that tank. Make sure that you have a healthy relationship by giving things. And here's why. Gifts say to the person whose love language is receiving and giving gifts say, I'm glad you're in my life. That jar of perfume that the woman brought to Jesus was saying, I'm so glad you're in my life. You've made a difference. You've changed me. You've changed my future. You've changed my present. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about a year's worth of salary. It had nothing to do with that. That's what she had. She gave the best that she had. Right? It was all about the fact that she was glad he was in her life. He was valuable to her. Jesus didn't need the perfume. I mean, as far as we know, he wasn't stinkier than the disciples. And she was like, boy, we better help Jesus out. It wasn't that. That wasn't the issue. It was about the change he'd made and how valuable he was to her. So every time you get a gift, if this is your love language, the person in your life who's given you this, what you're hearing is, thank you for being in my life. So remember, it doesn't have to be something they need. It can be, but it doesn't have to be something they need. It doesn't have to be something expensive or elaborate. It doesn't have to be something they can't live without. It just has to be an expression or a thought that says, I'm glad you're with me. I'm glad you're in my world. So that's important to understand. Next, gifts say, I was thinking of you today. See, this is really the part that fills the love tank. This is the part that makes them feel valued. Not only did you think about me, but you acted on it. It's not the gold. It's not the expensive perfumes. It's not the elaborate, rare find, the camel carrying spices or something. It's the fact you took time out of your day, even for a moment, to think about me. You couldn't not think about me without getting me this gift. You had to, at some level, think about me, or you wouldn't have got this. You stopped thinking about what you were working on. You stopped thinking about yourself. You stopped thinking about your schedule or your responsibilities. You deviated from your drive home. And you thought about me. That's what makes them feel special. Like, well, thank you. Wow. It just communicates that loudly. You not only thought about me, but you acted on it. You altered your schedule. You went out of your way. You stopped somewhere to get me something. So Cheryl and I just celebrated 34 years of marriage yesterday, which is kind of fun. Yeah, that's a long time for Cheryl to do that. Man, I'm hard to live with sometimes. And so we're talking, and of course we're in this series, and I was like, okay, so tell me, 34 years has a lot of gifts, right? I mean, even if you're just doing the standard, birthday, anniversary, Christmas, not Thanksgiving, Valentine's. Here's your Thanksgiving turkey. I got you napkins. So I asked her, okay, 34 years, a lot of gifts under the bridge. What do you remember the most? What comes to mind? And I'm thinking of these fantastic, wonderful gifts that she probably would think of. And she goes back to, she goes, let me think about that for a minute. She goes back to our second anniversary, and these first couple were kind of fantastic, actually, to scale. I got her a pearl necklace, right? I went to the jewelry store, and I was real careful, did studying research and everything, and it was probably more than I should have spent. We got married at 21 and 19, right? So we were pretty young, so I would have been 22-ish, 23, right? Math. I'm a preacher, not a mathematician. So anyway, we're young and not making a lot of money. I'm still in college, and I'm going to get her this pearl necklace. And I wanted it to be real. I wanted it to be good, so I probably spent more than I should have. But my reasoning to her was, I want to give you this gift. We don't have children yet. We're young. The world is before us. I want something you can hand to our kids someday. That was our conversation. And that's the part that stuck out to her. Like, I had thought beyond, like, hey, get her a quick necklace and call it good. I mean, it was, I want something that you can give to our children someday. And so then children came, and children have gone, and we have no idea where those pearls are. But she did remember the gift. We have a sneaky suspicion that but when we move, there's some things, that's a whole different story. So that was that. There was about 2 years later, I bought her a sapphire necklace. In the early years, it was the necklace time, I guess. And I bought her the sapphire necklace, and it was, she's pregnant with Danielle now, right? So we've been married 4 years. It was August, obviously. Danielle's born in January, so she's however pregnant that is. And again, you've learned I'm not good at math, right? You can do it. So we know babies, we're starting to prepare, we're doing the nursery, getting that stuff prepared. And we also know things are about to change dramatically for us because we're getting ready to move to Atlantic, Iowa. We're going to cut our income in half because she's going to stay home. We're going to buy a house before we had a parsonage, so it was free. We had all these, on paper it sounded great. It lasted about 2 weeks. That's another story. But we knew that things were going to change, so I thought, this is my last chance to get her something really nice. So I got her this really super nice sapphire and diamond necklace. And I thought, I can't just throw a necklace at her. So I happened to work at a place, it was here in Des Moines, called Library Binding Service, that had a shrink wrap machine for some of the stuff they sold and send out in the corporate world. And I thought, I went out and I bought one of those little travel packs of wet wipes. And I cleaned them out, I put the necklace in there, and I put it through the shrink wrap machine. So it looked like it was just, bought from the store. And this is great. So I went to a fancy restaurant, and she's opened it, and it's like, oh, isn't that cute? You got me wet wipes. And it's like, well, we have a nursery. I'll put it in the nursery until January. And I'm thinking, didn't think that part through. Gosh, she has no reason to open wet wipes right now. So I'm real sloppy. I'm getting stuff on my hands, and stuff's running down my face, and she's getting ready to hey, can we get more napkins? I don't know what the deal, And I'm like, just use the wet wipes, I talk her into using the wet wipes. She opens up, and it's like, it was really great. Now, again, it was pretty cool, but what she remembers was all the thought that went into that process, I didn't just go to a jewelry store and buy something and give it to her. It had to, I thought beyond that, and it took several steps to get it. That's what made it memorable. I've gotten her more fantastic things throughout the years, but that was what came to mind to her. And then even a more recent one, we for Christmas, she opened up a can of paint one day under the tree, and she's like, thank you. Now what am I going to do with this? Well, the girls and I had conspired over 3 months to completely remodel a room, and pillows and different furniture and paint and carpet, like the whole thing. And the girls had asked, well, what do you think about this color? So it was like a long process getting this done. She had no clue. And she opens the paint, and I was like, So like over that Christmas break, we painted, everything happened. So at the end of the week, it was done. So she didn't have to do anything. We kicked her out every time she tried to help. And so it was kind of a fun thing. So it was it was the effort involved. We didn't really spend that much money. A can of paint's not that much. And as far as, a Christmas gift. And it was the stuff that you thought about. That's the point. The more we thought about it, the more she remembered it, and the more it impacted her. And that's definitely what happens if you have the love language of receiving gifts. Gary Chapman says this in his book: a gift is something you can hold in your hand and say, look, he was thinking of me. Okay? Or she remembered me. You must be thinking of someone to give him a gift. The gift is a symbol of that. It does not matter if it costs money. What's important is that you thought of the other person. And that's from Dr. Gary Chapman, who wrote the book on the 5 love languages. Okay? A couple side thoughts. Quick side thoughts. Gifts don't have to cost a ton of money. I know I've said that, but I'm going to make sure it was out front. You don't have to get a sapphire and diamond necklace every time. You don't have to get pearl necklaces every time. You don't have to, go crazy on stuff. It doesn't have to cost a ton of money. It can be a flower from the front yard because you stopped at least long enough to think, oh, that's really pretty, and I'm going to give that to my wife. Or, something from the front yard. It could be a gift of your time. It could be a card that you make. These are things that he suggests. You don't have to bring that shipment of camels with spices into the house, or the gold or precious stones. I'm sure they'll take it, but that's not required for it to meet the criteria of filling the love tank. So just remember that. Secondly, don't ignore special occasions. This is a big one. Again, if you kind of discount this as a gift, you're like, okay, well, it wasn't a big deal. We'll get you something next year. Or, I don't really do this holiday or that holiday. That's just kind of dumb. If your person has the love language of giving and receiving gifts, you can't ignore it. If you just fly over their birthday, that's not only a negative that you forgot their birthday. It's like an ice pick on their love tank going, I don't really care. I don't value you. That's what it's communicating. You may not be thinking that. That's what they're catching. So be very careful. Hit the big ones: birthdays, Valentine's Day, anniversaries, Christmas, whatever it is. Make sure you don't ignore those, but throw in a few extras here and there, and make sure you fill their tank. All right, that's the basics on this one. I do have an assignment for us every week. We're going to have little assignments, and these are pretty simple. Buy a gift. All right, get something. It doesn't have to be crazy. We one year, I think it was our 20th, I took her on a surprise trip. We went to Niagara Falls, so she had no idea where we were going. And the big thing was the trip, but one of the parts she remembers that every single day she had a little gift and a little card for her that we put along the little hotel window. And the gifts were like a little dollar stuffed bear. I mean, and it was just like, oh, you're a berry person. I don't know, whatever. I can't remember what I wrote. And so it wasn't money that I spent. Well, the trip was expensive, but it was the little gifts that were kind of fun. So buy some type of gift. Make something personal, a card, whatever. Use your imagination there. And guess what? There's something coming up pretty soon. They're going to need a gift. If you're not used to putting that on your radar, turn on your radar. Make a gift list, whether it's in your phone. I don't care where you put it. Where you're thinking, you're always listening. Where you're trying to decipher what is this person. I keep saying she because I'm thinking of my wife, but he or she. What do they want? What would fill their tank? Keep that in the back of your mind so when the occasion comes, you're ready. You're not Christmas Eve at 7 p.m. running out thinking, oh no, what's left? And trying to get them something. You've already have a plan. So those are my assignments for you to work on if your loved one has the love language of giving and receiving gifts.